You're about to watch a clip from the Ordered Liberty podcast, which streams live every Sunday night on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern on my channel, Gen Z Attorney. Whether you're a disillusioned liberal who thinks the left has gone too woke, or a principled conservative who's worried that the right might also be going too woke, or someone who's politically homeless and doesn't really know where they fall right now, we'd love to see you join our movement of what we're calling the reasonable right, which is a movement designed to bring Americans back to the American founding principles and reassert the moral proposition that this entire country was built upon, with the goal to hopefully restore some common sense into a political world where it is sorely lacking. And so if that sounds like you, we'd love to see you during the live streams and down in the comment sections of these videos. And the most helpful thing you can do is like and subscribe to all the individual channels of people in this movement and share with your friends to try and bring more people into it. But without further ado, please enjoy the clip. Since it is our first episode here, and we all are part of the same political project, but we all have slightly different backgrounds, it seems like. I think I'd like to take a little bit of time and just lay out our vision here for what exactly is it we're trying to accomplish. You know, we keep throwing around some of these terms like propositional nation, reasonable right, stuff like that. So let's use this, you know, because this is going to cut into a clip and turn into a short and whatnot. What do we mean when we say all that, and what are we trying to do here? I think Ryan, I'll let you take your first crack at it, and then Tally and Zetsui go from there.
So when we say America is a propositional nation, what we mean is that America was founded on a specific philosophy, made by specific people with specific beliefs. And today, oftentimes, America is it's almost viewed in hollowed out legalistic terms. When you ask someone, what does America mean? They might say something like democracy, or they might say something like a nation of laws or a nation with a constitution. But what's been hollowed out is the moral core that was the American proposition that animated the need to be the rule of law, that animated the desire for democratic rule. And that was spelled out in the Declaration of Independence. You know, we find these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are imbued by their creator with natural rights, amongst them life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men. And that's what the American government was for. It was to secure the natural rights of its people. And if you don't have a grounding in that philosophy, almost nothing else about this country will make sense. When you look at the First Amendment or the Second Amendment, it doesn't say the people are granted by the government the right to free speech. It doesn't say the people are granted by the government the right to freedom of religion or the right to bear arms. It assumes that these rights already exist because they're natural rights, because they're part of natural law, and the government is prohibited from infringing upon them. But the right was not granted by the government because the right is a higher moral standard. The right is what the justice of the government is measured against. And if the government ever became too tyrannical and was infringing on natural rights too much, rebellion would be justified. And that's what our founders believed. And if you don't kind of grok that, then very little else is going to make sense to you about the way the country has been organized historically.
Mm. That was really good, Ryan. And I'm glad that we keep bringing up a propositional nation. And I think that's really important. I hate to bring criticism of the right into this positive podcast about the future of the right. But I think part of the reason that we're doing this is because there are concerning segments on the right now. And so what I'm about to say is twofold. So I think on the left, there are people who are saying, well, I didn't agree to this proposition. You know, I had no choice in the matter. Either I was, born into it, basically, right? Or my family had to come here for some reason beyond my control. They are rejecting the proposition. They are playing this cultural relativism game and saying that all of the things that you two just said that make our country so special, well, actually other places have cool things also, and our nation is no more special than any other. And they kind of convince themselves of this. And part of this is ignorance, right? Having so little experience of what it would be like to not have these privileges and these freedoms, and have your natural rights respected, right, by your government and recognized by your government. So we have all of that going on the left, and obviously we are rejecting that, right? And then on the right, I mean, there is a segment of the right that is also vehemently, I don't know if you guys have seen this, I don't know how plugged in you guys are to like the, I don't know what to call it, alt-right, dissident right, whatever, but there's a segment of the right proudly proclaiming we are not a propositional nation, that is bogus, basically, that is boomer talk, essentially, and that we need to be looking a little more nationalistic. And I don't think nationalism is a bad word. I want to put my cards on the table. Like, I think, I think there's a mistake that some people on the right are doing that are sort of conflating America with Europe. Yes, we are a nation that was founded by Europeans. This is undeniable. It was the influence of European culture, right, that formed this nation, and it was also rebellion against some of the places that they were leaving. But America is unique. America is different from these different European cultures, and we can't have the same prescriptions, basically, I believe in building a right that actually believes in what the right has been saying they believed in, which I think most of them have, right? Which is a merit-based systems where if you come in and you agree to this proposition and you aspire to this, basically, and you do the right thing and you work hard and you contribute, that you should be and can be a valued member of this society. And yeah, so I hope I think that's what the most mainstream, right wing represents, but I think it's not sexy right now. And so I hope that this, reasonable right coalition, we got to figure out a way to be kind of sexy with the proposition.
Well, it's such a good point, Tally. And sorry, Zetsu, I know I don't want to. I want to give you some airtime, but I just want to make sure I follow up on that. Once you understand the American proposition clearly, other terminology that I feel like gets misused can become super clear. Like when I criticize someone on the left or the right for being woke, which is I do both. What do I mean by that? Woke means to me, when I use the term, you are invoking collectivist grievance to attack the American moral proposition. That's what woke means, right? So when the woke left comes in, they say, oh, America has this history of systemic racism, slavery, redlining, and that's why you should let us discriminate on the basis of race going forward, and we're going to abolish the American proposition and instead do this other thing. And the woke right does the exact same thing. They say, oh, Christians are being so mistreated or white people are being so mistreated that on the basis of that, we're going to abandon the American proposition and replace it with something else. And, once you have a firm grasp of what the American proposition is, then you can see what it means when someone's trying to undermine it and understand that that's the view that ultimately needs to be rejected. And I don't want to say it has been hugely ascendant on the left, but you're right. It is gaining steam on the right. And these are boundaries that need to be policed. There's a world of difference between saying, I think Christian values are good. I want to support Christian politicians who will govern in a Christian way. That's totally
we can say more than that. We can say that this country owes its foundings, right, to Christianity. Not all of the founders were Christian, right? But absolutely, the Christian morality is deeply imbued in American values. So yeah, we can go beyond that. But of course, I'm not a full member of society if it's a society that only allows, that power is going to be granted by your religious affiliation or your ethnicity, right? And so that's a direct threat to me, and that's where I get.
Well, no, 100%, and that's what I was saying. Saying if you want to have more Christian people in government and you want to vote for them and organize for them, that's totally within the American moral proposition. If you want to put religious tests and you can only hold office if you've been baptized, that's a problem, right? And the line isn't that blurry. It's actually very clear if you're clear about what the American moral proposition is. And that lets you reject it more easily when people come in and they say, well, we're not a propositional nation. Let's just get rid of all this, because you see what the game is. If they're allowed to get rid of the American moral proposition, there's nothing left. And who knows what's going to replace it at that point? It might be the thing you like. It might be something totally different. Once it's gone, there's no foundation.
And that's why, Tally, I don't want you to ever apologize if you've got a criticism for the right, because I think our very function, our very reason for existing as something outside or other than the MAGA right or the hardcore Republican, hardcore conservative, Christian nationals, whatever label you want to have, the reason that we're building this specifically the reasonable right is because I think we all have this shared understanding that the left has just completely lost its mind, lost its grip on reality. And I think, and some of y'all's backstories here is emblematic of that. Like going back to what was kind of being talked about on X earlier, Tally, was you're a former lefty that has realized how insane they've gone. Ryan is a former lefty who realized how insane they've gone. Zetsui, I don't know if you're on that train too.
No, I've always probably been more. I guess I've probably gone from libertarian to more just right leaning overall. So I've become so I've always been a right-ish basically. But yeah. So no, but still, I can still see the issues in general. But from my standpoint, understanding the origins of the country and how we got here, part of that reason gives you two things. One, it tells you what we gained by doing it, what you might lose if you get rid of it, and it helps you predict how things might work in the future. And when you don't have those things, people get very angry and very frustrated when goes, why am I not getting the thing I want? And the answer is they didn't understand the process to begin with. And then if they say, well, whatever, I don't care what that is, I want it, I want what I want. You say, because you don't understand where you came from, you don't know what you're about to give up. I think you guys face that a lot. Like there's the one I watched is where the WIC debate, where there's a point where you point out the law and they go, well, I don't care about that. And it says, okay, I get you're looking in front of your nose and saying, I don't like the wall in front of me. The problem is you don't see all the toxic things behind it, that if you break that wall thinking you're well, it's in my way, and goes, there's a reason it's in your way. And if you don't understand that, and so it's part of it is so those three propositions are saying understanding why we come from and why we got here is so that your predictable outcomes, you'll know what you need to do if you want those changes, but you also know what the consequences will be, because it's really frustrating when someone does something incredibly that has an obvious consequence and then acts shocked when that consequence occurs.
And that's a great point, because that's exactly why, because we're starting to see some of that on the right as well. And that's where our calling here is, okay, we're pointing to the left and saying, y'all have lost your minds. We're pointing to the right and saying, we're at risk of losing our minds if we start giving into the same temptations that has completely captured the left. And that's what makes, because all of us have a shared concern that our country, like we kind of just let off with, is our way of life, how good we have it. It is the exception. It is not the rule by historical comparison or even just by modern global politics comparison. Look at any other country on the world. It's not even close in so many different ways that we just have it the best. And we're all terrified that we can lose that. And like Ryan said earlier, it's never more than one generation away, and it can be taken away from us by either side if they let it get too far and they go too crazy. And so that's why we're trying to stand here. Our whole goal with this political project is being this reasonable ground that is trying to just side with reality, side with our history, side with our founding principles. Because, like you just said, Zetsui, if we don't, and look at that, I just wrapped in all three of your quotes into one rambling answer. I'm proud of myself for that one. But like what you just said, Zetsui, about if you don't know where we come from and you just see this wall in your way and you say, well, it's in my way, so I'm going to tear it down. You have no idea what kind of hell you'd be unleashing after that. You have no idea what's on the other side of that wall, because you have never cared to learn about it. And so that's why our project, I think, is just of such fundamental importance. And admittedly, I've got some people I know that are in the chat right now that typically watch my videos breaking down like these big celebrity high profile court cases and whatnot. And it's like, this is a complete wild 180, like super new topic. But the reason for that is because it is just so fundamentally important, because we're talking about, the survival of our country here.
Yeah, and look, the Amber Heard trial can be the dessert, but eat your vegetables. That's right. It's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really the goal. That's the vision, and really, it's a matter of just literally just one person at a time that we can bring into the fold and have this vision. And right, we've got two great panelists here, but moving forward, we're going to have a good variety of guests that are interested in building this coalition for the future. Like I've been talking with some Never Trumpers, like North. I've talked with North. He's interested in coming on. He is a solid Never Trumper. He sent me Trump's quote about the filibuster and getting rid of it, which we're about to get into, as like trying to, I guess, make me see the error in my ways for having voted for Trump. But
we should talk about Never Trump Republicanism, and I think maybe why we distinctively this is not that. I think that's important. Because I think we all feel pretty strongly about that in particular. Like, I'm not interested in being part of a Never Trump movement, a Never Trump Republican movement. I am interested in being a part of a forward-looking, what's going to happen, a post-Trump Republican movement, because Trump is not going to be on the ballot in 2028. And so so maybe we could spend some time talking about specifically why we don't want to take that route.
And if Trump is on the ballot in 2028, I think Gen Z and I will owe so much money because we keep betting people he won't be, because people keep saying he's going to run in 2028 or he's going to be the VP and stealth his way. I love Wick. Wick's a buddy, but like I think in our last conversation with Wick, did he insinuate that Trump might have some kind of unaliving scheme if he was, I mean, so people have all kinds of tinfoil hat theories about 28 that I don't think are likely, but I do think the project does need to be forward-facing, as Tally said. It needs to be looking at 28 and beyond specifically, because the last election's already baked in. It's already happened, and other than the one big beautiful bill, it's not like the Republicans so far have been governing through legislation, though they could have if they wanted to. That has not been what's been happening. So, I mean, the midterms could result in losing Supreme Court seats or other unpleasant things going forward, but I don't think it's going to do much to stymie Trump one way or the other. Really, the question is, what does the right look like in the long term? So I have no antipathy towards people who are in the Never Trump camp. I understand where they're coming from. I myself didn't vote for him once, though I'm often accused of voting for him, which is hilarious. But I never did, for a lot of reasons that Never Trumpers agree with. There's a lot of common ground there. I just don't think what they're doing is useful. I just don't. I like it. I want to be philosophical, but like practically speaking, I just don't understand the point of what they are doing. I think that a better move is to try to steer the bulldozer, hope that Trump knocks down some of the bloated federal government that we have and gets us back to a more constitutional shape, and then be ready to rebuild when the time arises.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was say, because I guess I don't have a problem, particularly if you're Never Trump, or if one, it does make it's a little weird. Goes, well, he's not going to be on the ballot, so I'm not sure. Like, don't worry, we're all everyone's be forced to be Never Trumpers once he's out of office, because no one can vote for him again anyway. So I don't know what you want. And so if you wanted to be like a Never Trumper in a primary, that makes sense. Or even in the general, if he crossed whatever lines in your head are too big for you, I don't have that goes. Then whatever those lines are, that's for you to decide, not for me. For me, it's just, and so that just, I'm not certain what a Never Trumper wants at this point. Basically, is all. It's like I just don't give. Like, I feel like the battle's over, and he goes, there's no point in doing that at this point. If you want to be critical of Trump, then I think go for it.
Yeah. Well, some of them are saying out loud what they want, and it's just to openly get Democrats elected right now, because they think there needs to be more institutional pushback, like in the Senate, which, like Ryan just mentioned, like that could lead to some completely catastrophic results if Democrats get back the majority. Not I don't want to sound like super doomer about it, but they're openly talking. I mean, me and Ryan have talked about this before, about how Josiah, Pondering Politics, who is, I've heard him described before I ever knew who he was. I heard him described as like one of the kind of bastions of the reasonable left, and that's when it got me kind of into following him a little bit, see what he's all about. I was initially getting that vibe, like, okay, I see what people are saying, and now all of a sudden he's out there saying completely openly and like hardcore, if Dems get stuff back, they need to pack the court. Like, that is a number one policy priority, is that they have to pack the Supreme Court, and it's just. And I think, Ryan, you made the point in one of your tweets, basically quoting that to say, and this is the reason why, for the Never Trumpers out there, like why what you're trying to accomplish right now, it's not helping the right whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
There's an example of it. So saying like, so right now, remember, Republicans right now, I guess we'll get into it later, are probably not, I don't expect any chance of them getting rid of the filibuster, if I'm being honest. Where they're all standing, at least where they're standing now, no way. But like, so when they got rid of the filibuster, the Democrats were the ones who got rid of the filibuster for judicial seats, and that was not Republicans. Republicans tried under Bush. They're like exact same thing was happening. They were getting blocked left, right, and center on their judicial picks, and they tried to build support to get rid of the filibuster, and they failed. Democrats were able to do it. So the thing is that the horror is saying Republicans, you could say like, well, they try. Everyone tries something. There's always someone in the House. There's 435 of them. Someone's doing something wacky every single day. But in terms of saying who are the ones that are actually removing the things, and he goes, well, if someone's actively advocating for packing the court, I don't think people realize how horrifying that thought is. I think, right, and then you and I were on a panel just like arguing on that, going like, and then even arguing saying like, do you understand how that has devastating consequences far beyond what anything Trump has done, in my opinion? Like, he goes, I don't think you understand the horrors you shall rot if you try and just, especially if you got rid of the filibuster. So if you tried to by 51 just turn the court into like add 9 justices, the thing is, you're going to have to become authoritarian at that point. You can't, because the second Republicans get control again, whatever swords you wield, they will wield it back against you, because they did. When you got rid of the filibuster, they wielded it back against you. If you do a court packing, if you add 9 new justices or whatever it is to get your majority back, if you let them suddenly, again, you have to basically purge and you have to basically dissolve the country, because you're going to lose it. The Republicans are going to repack the court as soon as they get control again, and you'll have no argument for why they can't do it.
Mm-hmm. And also, there's just nothing that would cheapen the idea of the rule of law more than, imagine a world where every 4 to 8 years, 9 more justices are added to the court, and suddenly every law in the country changes. Right. And then you say, we're a nation of laws. We should respect it's like, well, why? Why would anyone respect the law at that point? It becomes a joke. And, we've been flirting with this for a while now, where ever since Roe v. Wade, really, I think is probably the origin point of this, though maybe you could trace it back further. I think it was around then. That's when you started seeing Supreme Court justices during the confirmation hearings. They'd be asked specific questions. What do you think of the right to privacy? What do you like? They'd be asked and really, this is the result of living constitutionalism. If you believe that justices are empowered to amend without an amendment the Constitution and just rewrite it, then of course you need to vet them and make sure they're going to rewrite it in a way that you want them to. That's it would be political malpractice not to. And that's what we started doing. And that's when you started seeing, it used to be 98-0 every time. Because, yes, conservatives put up conservatives, and yes, liberals put up liberals, but everyone was voting like, is this judge experienced? Is this justice going to apply legal reasoning? And that was the test. Now the test is, are you going to rewrite the Constitution the way I like, especially coming from the left? And on the right, it was, just transparently for a long time, are you enough of an originalist that you're going to overturn Roe if given a chance? And that already has undermined our faith in the rule of law and the Constitution tremendously. And while I prefer that the judicial process be political than just by fiat, so I guess this is the best we can do right now. The idea of court packing, I don't see how we recover from that. Once you get into a cycle of court packing, that's pretty much the end of the idea of the Constitution as a sacred document.
And real quick, I just want to give a quick historical, just some beef to what Ryan just said, as far as how overwhelming these votes were. So Sandra Day O'Connor, first female Supreme Court justice, confirmed 99-0. Antonin Scalia, famous originalist right-wing justice, confirmed 98-0. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, famous left-wing justice, confirmed 96-3. It really is not until you get to even Sotomayor and Kagan. Sotomayor was 68-31, and Kagan was 63-37. You're only getting to these super ultra slim majorities, starting with Gorsuch. Even at Gorsuch, he's been pretty rock solid, I think, as far as just being a consistent, I mean, Bostock aside, but being a consistent jurist on the bench, he was 54-45. Of the 3 Trump picks, I think he was the least objectionable. Even that was still 54-45. So it's really, when it becomes a political body, a political institution, then you've got to screen them based on their politics at this point. And it's completely unworkable, completely untenable. And I think that's one of the main things if we're talking about threats to institutions that the left just represents right now, that we're trying to exist to fight back against.
Roe is actually like a pretty good litmus test I usually ask against people is to say, because if someone says like, oh my God, the Supreme Court's off the rails, they go, I can't believe they overturned Roe. Go, so do you agree Roe shouldn't have been overturned? And they go, of course not. And I go, what was Roe held under? I don't know. And like, okay, so then wait, how are you're judging whether or not you like it based on whether or not, if you're pro-choice, well, then I'm in for Roe. And he goes, that's not, if that's how you judge things, then it makes sense why this is all crazy to you, because you're saying you believe that judges are there to give you what you want. What does Constitution say? Depends. What do I want in the moment? If I want something, then the judges should give it to me. And if that's where you're at, because the answer should be, well, depend. Like if you don't know the reasoning why, then how do you feel in favor of it or against it? Everyone should be able to think of some case in your head that says that you like that. It goes that you got some morally abhorrent outcome that you hate, but you agree with the decision because the rules are there. That goes, it doesn't protect you from bad things. That's not its purpose. And if you believe it does, and like I said, Roe's a very easy one, where it goes, just ask people, and if they don't know how it's held, or they don't even know what KCV Planned Parenthood is, they don't even know the standards of Roe. They don't even know what substantive due process is, and yet somehow they have these. It's not just having an opinion, going like, "Oh, here's how I feel about abortion." It's an opinion on the Supreme Court, its operations, and whether rulings are correct or not, and they don't know what the rulings are.
Thank you again for watching this clip from the Ordered Liberty podcast, streaming live every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Gen Z Attorney YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like down below, and if you learned something new, leave a comment to let us know what it is. And if you like what we got going on here, building this reasonable right coalition, then subscribe on this channel, as well as the channels of all the individual creators featured in the video, whose links you can find down in the description below. But most importantly, if you really want to help us build out this coalition, and you know people that are just so flustered and frustrated with our politics, send them our content and bring them in. Our main goal above all else is to restore common sense to our government, and the only way we can do that is by going one person at a time. But yeah, we truly would love to see you all down in the comments, over on X, in the live stream chat, anywhere where this movement is going to be flourishing. And if you want to see more right now, click this video right here to see more. But that's all it's going to be for today's video, so we'll see you on the next one.